G'day everyone, Be Asian Dad here. We're going to do the review for this Asus ROG Flow X13. Now this is a thin and ultra lightweight gaming laptop. Actually, it's a little bit more than a laptop. It's actually a two-in-one because you can actually flip its screen around and then you can get a stylus with this. Now here in Australia it doesn't get bundled with it, but in some countries it can be bundled with it. But it does have digital pen support as well, and so you can actually take some notes or even do some sketching or drawings as well too. Of course this is a touchscreen there, and of course I'm just going to go back to this clamshell because that's what I mostly use it in, but just to let you know it can go into 2-in-1 here. Now I've spent a bit of time with this computer here, and I've got to admit this here is a very impressive computer, especially actually just overall, and we're going to get through to that. Now before I continue on with this review, I must make a first big thanks to AMD for sending this unit for me for a review, and then after I finish this review I will be sending it back to them just to let you guys know. So thank you very much for that, AMD. Now this particular Flow X13 is configured with the new AMD Ryzen 9 5980 HS processor. So there are plenty of other reviews who've actually done gaming reviews or other reviews of this Flow X13, so please watch those ones there. But I mostly am doing business and professional applications and just the touch and feel of this computer here, and so I'll be covering those sort of topics here. Now we'll be also putting timestamps along this video so you can actually skip the different sections which you are interested in, just to make things easier for you. I will be concentrating the first half of this video about this new Ryzen 9 5980 HS processor, as there's not many videos about that particular processor here. So I'm going to switch things around. Let's start with its performance. So I actually benchmark this computer here. I'm going to show the scores right up here for the Pass Mark, City Bench, PC Mark, 3D Mark, Crystal Disk, Spec View Pref, and also thrown in a few gaming benchmarks from Eugene, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Immortal Phoenix Rising, and Far Cry New Dawn. As you can see from the benchmarks results, it's actually quite a performer. Actually, it's mind-boggling what it can do, especially that multi-core. Now the previous generation, the Ryzen 4000 chipset, was very good. This just took it to another new level, and even the single core just took it right up there with the Intels as well, and I was very impressed by its performance here. Let's have a look at the behavior of the processor. Now this Asus ROG X13 Flow is configured with a Ryzen 9 5980 HS processor with a base clock speed of 3.3 GHz. Now this X13's been running on 100% load for over 2.5 hours, so that's the processor, RAM and hard drive, and also have the GPU running as well. And its processor speed is pretty stable, anywhere between 3.5 to about 3.8 gigahertz. So that's doing pretty good there. So it doesn't have thermal throttling because it is above the 3.3 gigahertz, but it does have a bit of turbo throttling, which is kind of expected, but it's doing pretty good here. So let's have a look at the processor, see how long it's able to maintain high clock speed for. So I'm just going to start the load off and also the stopwatch off at the same time so we can have a look at what it is. Alright, so we can see the processor is sitting at around about 4.4 gigahertz, and it's maintained at 4.4 gigahertz. It's dropped down to about 4 gigahertz there, and then it is just fluctuating between 4.2 to about 4, and it's just gone back up to about 4.3 gigahertz there, and we'll hit just 4 there, and it's just turned back. It's gone back up at 30-second marks. It's just dropped down below 4 gigahertz, and it's just gone back up again to about 4.2 gigahertz, just so you can see that, and it's just gone back up to about 4.3, and it's just dropped again underneath 4 gigahertz, but it's gone back up again in there. It looks like it likes to take a quick break in between every, probably what I would say, 10 seconds or so. It will just do a bit of a drop just very quickly and then come back up again. So still able to maintain 4 gigahertz, which is really good to know. This is hitting the processor, RAM, hard drive, and the GPU at the exact same time. We're about to hit the 2-minute mark, and we're around about 3.8 to about 4 gigahertz, and it's pretty much just fluctuating between those sort of numbers at the 2-minute mark. And I'm pretty sure this will just stay as it pretty much consistently like this while we're actually hitting the processor, RAM, and hard drive and GPU at the exact same time. I also want to demonstrate another performance of this Ryzen 9 5980HS processor. Now, normally Intel do boast about single core performance, but I just want to demonstrate this on this new Ryzen 5000 mobile chip. And I'm just going to run this through Cinebench R23, and I'm going to do the single core benchmark. And I'm just going to start it off now, and also run a timer for this just to see how long we're going for it. And at the moment, we can see we're hitting around about 4.4 gigahertz, which is quite a high speed for a single core. And it's still running about 4.4 gigahertz. Now it's just jumped up to 4.5 gigahertz. And we're just going to see how that runs, and I'm just going to let this run for a bit of a period of time. Now, 1 minute mark, we're looking at 4.5 gigahertz, still able to maintain that high clock speed on single core. About to approach the 8-minute mark, and this processor has not dropped the ball at all. It is very stable at 4.5 gigahertz. So this Ryzen 9 5980HS processor is doing extremely well on single core performance. Now, as for the touch of the computer itself, it is barely hot at all. My hands are resting on the keyboard, and I can quite tell you probably it may be about 37 degrees Celsius. As for the top where the exhausts are, that is a little hot, but only by a little bit, probably looking about 39 degrees Celsius there at all. So still very touchable. It is pretty amazing while this computer is performing single core performance. Let's have a look at the temperatures and fan noise of this computer. When I put this computer on load, I found most of the heat is concentrated on the top center of the keyboard, specifically around where the F5 to F9 keys are, around there, which is unsurprising because that's where the GPU and also the CPU lays underneath there. Now, when I took my temperature measurement, my ambient temperature was 24 degrees Celsius. And I took my base measurement when the computer was on idle, and the hottest area of the computer was measuring at 37 degrees Celsius with the fan noise hitting a maximum of 28 decibels. So that's practically quiet. Then I put the computer on 20% load, so that's pretty much average use. So tasks like surfing the web, streaming videos, as well as office productivity work. The hottest area on the keyboard was 47 degrees Celsius with the fan hitting a maximum of 38 decibels. Then I put the computer on 50% load, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 51 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 44 decibels. Then I put the computer on 100% load, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 50.5 degrees Celsius with the fan noise hitting a maximum of 45 decibels. Now this is in performance mode. Now there's also a turbo mode on this computer when this is connected to power. When you initiate the turbo mode, it does give you anywhere between 5 to 10% better performance. And when I measured the computer when it was in turbo mode, the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 55 degrees Celsius with the fan noise hitting a maximum of 47 decibels. Now I also measure this back cover of this computer when this computer was on performance mode, and the hottest area on the back cover measured in at 58 degrees Celsius, and of course the fan noise was at 45 decibels. Now looking at the temperatures of that, that's not bad at all, especially for the performance of this computer. This is quite a good performer. Now you're also going to remember this is initiating the GPU as well. Now when I actually did just the CPU, man, this was nearly not much at all. Didn't produce that much heat at all, and I was very impressed when it was just doing the CPU only. I just want to give you a bit of a tip on the thermals here that I've actually found after having played with this computer here. Now first, I actually need to explain how the thermals work on this computer. So I'm just going to tip it to the back end where this computer is on the back. Now underneath you'll see two sides. They're actually holes where the two fans are located right underneath that. Now how it works is it sucks in air from the bottom and then expels it back out from the side and also from the two rear as well. So both fans suck in this way. So I'm just going to show it to you from this way. Sucks it in this way and then expels air out the exhaust there. So these are literally its breathe holes here. So if you actually have this laptop pretty much closed anywhere between from here all the way to 90 degrees there, you'll find that because the laptop, and it does require these, there are actually two rubber bits to the bottom end of the display. It does actually initiate and starts writing on that. So it does. So what you find is the laptop is flat on the surface there, or especially on a flat surface like this table here, and it doesn't able to breathe very well at all. Now once you actually go past like literally about the 130 degrees mark for the display, which is probably optimal when you're actually typing anything, you'll find that when you put that up, it actually lifts the bottom end of the laptop here and actually creates a little bit of a gap for the fans to then suck in, and you'll actually find a lot better thermals from that, which is really good to actually see. So once you actually got past about 130 and you actually initiate those two rubber legs, I would call it, it actually pushes the bottom end up, and this computer then breathes a lot better, and you actually find this runs a lot more cooler as well too. So just giving you guys a tip, if you actually end up owning one of these Flow X13s, it's still quite a good computer even when it's actually flat on its thing. But if you want the maximum performance, just give that a more tilt for the display, and you'll find you'll get a lot better increased performance as well too. What this computer can be configured with. So with the processor wise, it can be either configured with the Ryzen 7 5800HS processor or the Ryzen 9 5980HS processor. Now as for the RAM wise, it can go up to a maximum of 32 gigs. Now these are soldered to the system board, so you need to be careful when you select this computer when you purchase to make sure you get the correct amount of RAM, because you can't upgrade it later on. Now as for the storage space, it can go up to a maximum of 1 terabyte, and that is using NVMe M.2, but it is the smaller one, just to let you guys know. As for the graphics wise, of course it's got the integrated Radeon graphics, which does very well, I've got to admit, and it does also house a discrete graphics, which is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Ti-Max-Q. That's pretty amazing. In a thin and lightweight laptop, they're able to put that GPU into there, which is fantastic. Now, as for the screen wise, there are actually two types. There is a 4K one and there's a full HD one. Now, the full HD can also go up to 120 Hertz is what I can see. Now, I haven't got that on the 4K, so do check other channels on that display panel. It also has Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1 as well. Now it does come with a 720p webcam on top. I do wish it was 1080p. Hopefully maybe in the next revision. We are in 2021 now, so it'll be nice to actually do. We do more content creation as well too. So it'll be nice to see them put a 1080p webcam. This is a recording from the 720p webcam from the Flow X13. This is the video and audio unedited, so you can actually hear and see what the quality is like. Now I've got two types of lights currently turned on. I've got one of my studio lights, and also the down lights in this room is turned on as well. Now I'm going to turn off my studio light. and you can see it actually adjusted really quick. Now I've actually got 4 downlights in this room. I've got 2 in front of me and 2 behind me. Now 2 in front of me is actually quite far away, so it's actually quite dark here. So if you're in an office environment, you're going to be a lot more light than what I am currently in at the moment. And I'm going to turn my one studio light again on, and it's just really quick, as you can see. And of course, better light gives you better picture. Now I'd love to hear what your comments and what your thoughts are on this 720p webcam. Put a comment below there. There's also an interesting attachment that you can actually purchase with the Flow X13, and that is the ROG XG Mobile. Now what that is an external GPU, and it also doubles as kind of like a docking station as well, because it also has an Ethernet port and 4 USB type A ports as well. And with the XG Mobile, it can either be NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 or the RTX 3080. So that's got some power in there for sure. Definitely something worth looking into, and also charges the computer through that port as well. Let's have a look at the ports. Starting on the left hand side of the computer, we've got a USB type C port, that is USB 3.2 Gen 2. And then after that is the XG Mobile port. Now this is where you plug in the eGPU or the Asus ROG XG Mobile device, which gives you the external graphics. And then after that is a full-size HDMI port. Now that is HDMI 2.0B. And then we've got the headphone jack. And on the rear of the computer, we've got 2 exhaust vents on both sides. And in the middle of the rear is another vent, which is for the intake of fresh air. And looking on the right-hand side of the computer, we've got another exhaust vent, and then another USB Type-C port, and then we've got a USB Type-A port, and right next to it is the power button with the integrated fingerprint scanner. There are 2 1-watt speakers located on the bottom front of the computer. Now I did test out the maximum volume of these speakers, and it measured in at a peak of 64.5 decibels. So that's on the quiet end of town. So if you're taking this computer out in the field and doing a presentation maybe at a coffee shop or something like that, you'll find you actually struggle a little bit on the volume of these speakers here. Actually, even when I was at home, I was actually struggling a little bit. I actually noticed that it is also very quiet as well. So most of the time you'll be up in its maximum sound to find how it is. As for the sound qualities of these speakers, they actually did surprise me. For a 2 speaker system, it has quite a bit of bass. So much bass that I actually find that the mids and the bass was quite muddled up together. So it would have been nice if there was a bit more definition between the mids and bass. And as for the highs, there weren't that much highs, but it was clear and it didn't distort if you went for the highs. So overall, it did all right. And this is a gaming computer. I haven't done many gaming computers, so I don't know how that ranks. I would check other channels there. But as for me, who does business laptops, this actually does quite a lot better than a lot of business laptops here. Now as for X1 Carbons, that one of my favorites, this is nowhere near those speakers there. And as for the MacBook Pros or MacBook Airs, again, nowhere near that as well too. Now as for the acoustic of this computer, that also did surprise me. It did all right. It doesn't give you a straightforward, it actually does a little bit surround, which is really decent for a 2 speaker system. So not bad at all overall. The Flow X13 does come with a 100-watt power adapter, and it's actually quite small and light, and it does charge the computer via the USB-C port. The Flow X13 does come with 62 watt-hour 4-cell battery, and it does support express charge. Now what that means is it can charge the battery from 0 to 50% in 30 minutes time. Not bad at all. Now I did test this particular unit in my battery life test, and I tested it in my 5 different modes. Now I also had this in performance mode as well. So in best performance, it managed to get 53 minutes, and in better performance mode, it managed to get 57 minutes, and in better battery life mode, it managed to get 2 hours and 30 minutes. In battery saving mode, it managed to get 3 hours and 5 minutes. And in my media mode, it managed to get 6 hours and 15 minutes. Now, do note that my testers have the computer on a consistent workload, which is the processor, RAM, hard drive, and also the GPU as well. And most of the time, when you're doing your workload, you won't be hitting all those system resources on a consistent level like I am. So you should actually get better numbers than what I am getting. I'm just giving you the worst case scenario. So the weight of the Flow X13 is 1.35 kilos, and add on the 100-watt power adapter, becomes a total weight of 1.83 kilos that you'll be carrying around with you. How is the keyboard? So the keys have quite a bit of a key travel, around about 1.7 millimeters. Got quite a bit of a tactile feel to them as well, and they have quite a smooth texture to each individual key, and the spacing is quite nice as well. It's actually not extremely narrow, it's actually quite wide, and it does pretty well. Now, compared to a ThinkPad keyboard, I think the ThinkPads are still the best, and these are quite up there, so they're not bad at all, I've got to admit. And of course, they are backlit, as you can see, and they have 4 settings, which is off, low, medium, and high. Now, you also can change in the ROG software or the Aurora software, that you can actually change just how the lights are presented to you. You can have it make it blinking, you can have a wave effect there, you can have a play with it just like a lot of the gaming computers. Now, the lights are only white, they are not RGB, so only white backlights there. Now, there are a few special keys I can see, which is the Aurora key, which is the F4 key, and also Armory key as well. Now, one of the things I did find was that you need to press the FN to actually get to those special keys, else it just stays as the function keys, which is kind of good for the people who are doing programming or things, but a lot of people do prefer to have it, and I'm pretty sure you can actually switch that in the software. As for the trackpad, it is a very smooth and silky touch and feel to it, and it is mechanical because it is hinged on top, and you can actually press on the bottom there, which hasn't got any problems registering any of my touch. Same with the touch as well too. I didn't have any issues with that as well, and I had some moist hand, and I was able to read my input from the trackpad, so I've got to admit it's doing pretty well. Now, as for the size, it's not bad considering it hasn't got very much real estate to play with, so it's actually quite on the large side for myself. I've seen some smaller ones, but this one's pretty good. And as for the palm rest, of course, we're not got much palm rest real estate, but I've got to admit it's doing pretty well because I wasn't actually hitting the trackpad there, so definitely not bad at all. Measuring the color gamut coverage of the 4K display, it measured in at 99.3% sRGB coverage, 74.3% Adobe RGB coverage, and 81.9% DCI-P3 coverage. This Flow X13 is configured with a 4K display, so we're going to measure the luminance of this 4K panel, and I'm measuring it with my X1i1 display tool. So I'm just going to bring up the brightness to the maximum value here, so we're maxed out here, and the value we need to take note of is this one here called current. It is measured in candela per square meter, and 1 candela per square meter equals 1 nit of brightness. So at the moment it's reading about 346 candela per meter, so that's 346 nit of brightness. So at the moment it's pretty bright there, and as you can see, I'm just taking that off just so you can actually see what that comes up to. Now, to help the photographers and videographers, we're going to find that sweet spot of around about 100 to 120. So I'm just going to bring the value down around about 50 here, and let's drop it down to 50 and about 47. We're hitting about 127. Now let's do 100, let's do value of 44, and that's about 118, which looks pretty good. And value 45 is 121, which is a little bit too hot. Value 41 is still a little bit not enough, so let's bring it to value 42. So the value of 42 is about 113, and a value of between 42 to 44, you're pretty sweet there. let's have a look at the internals. First off, you just need to do the 11 screws from the back. They are Phillips head, so it's pretty easy. And after that, just pry it open. The easy way to pry it open is start up from the hinge and then work your way around there. And again, from the hinge and work your way around from the other sides there. After that, it's actually pretty easy to pry it open. So I've pre-undone this to speed things up. And pretty much this is the internals. There's actually not much to really look at because there's not much upgrade you can do to it. The only upgrade you can really do to it is the M.2 SSD. Now this is the 2230 format. As you can see, it's the really small one there, and it's held in by a screw, and that's really the only upgrade path there is. And you can see the integrated RAM here, and then the GPU and the CPU is along there with the heat pipe and two twin fans. Again, remember how I talked to you about the airflow. Pretty much it sucks in this way and then it pushes out that way, and this one of course pushes out this way as well too, just to let you know. There is also the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth right down here as well. Now down here, if you need to disconnect the battery, this is where you disconnect the battery if you've got some power issues or just need to reset the battery, or even just power that just doesn't come through. Now it is held by a couple of screws, and I'm just going to lift this up to pre-undone it just for the people who want to see what's underneath. There's really not much there, as you can see, and that's about it. That's all the internals for this computer. Overall, the Flow X13 is a very impressive computer to me. It's got a decent amount of selection of ports despite its thinness and ultra lightweight as well. It is a 2-in-1, so it has digital pen support and touch display, and has a decent keyboard and a decent trackpad as well. And it has a discrete graphics that I normally see in a 15-inch. I don't think I've ever seen that discrete graphics in 13-inch, the power that it actually has. And you actually can plug in external discrete graphics, which is even more powerful, which is the RTX 3070 and the 3080 at the moment, which is running really well. And also, which also doubles up as a docking station, so that just covers the bases there for, especially for a business side of things. And let's not say the temperatures on this is great, and of course the absolute mind-boggling performance of this computer here is just through the roof, I've got to say. There is some cons, which is its speakers. They are on the quiet side, but at least the sound quality is decent, and the 720p webcam. It'd be nice to see a 1080p webcam. It's also nice to see a privacy shutter on the webcam as well, and it does not have IR neither, so you can't really use it for Express login or those who want to use Windows Hello as well too. But overall, this computer, I'm really impressive. I actually like it. I think this is going to be my favorite laptop of 2021. It might even be my favorite laptop of all time. I think it's going to knock off my favorite laptop, which is the Lenovo X1 Carbons. That one there has great ports and very lightweight. Now this has a discrete graphics. That does not have discrete graphics, and this is also smaller factor as well too. So this computer, I can easily recommend this computer to anyone there. Now, if you find this video informative or enjoyed it, please smack that like button for me, or to support my channel, smack that like button for me as well. And if you haven't done already, subscribe my channel by hitting that subscribe button as well. I do try to upload a new video every week, and just remember, imperfections in life makes it beautiful and interesting. And I'll see you next video.